Alright, welcome to my practical example of using the sniper tools. Also, I'll talk a bit more about wind here. So, I have set two targets for me, or basically three. So right here we have two mortars, range around 490 meters. And right here I have HVT, range around 740 meters. And I'll be using the SR25 equals Mark 11 with ACE ammo Mark 316. So before I get to it, let's talk a bit more about the wind. And we can just bring this up for the clarifying it. So yeah, as I've explained before, I need to face the wind to get the exact wind value. And if you want a true wind speed, you really only have to just turn until you get the highest value. So in this case it would be 1.4. But in this case, if I, like for example, this is my location now. If I go to the ground level, right here, I don't have any obstacles. So the wind will be around 1.3. If I move to a high place like Agiastemma, the wind will be a little bit higher, as you can see, 1.7. So the wind will be affected by the altitude. But it's not only altitude. Also, all sorts of objects will block the wind. So for example, when I face the wind, approximately 1.6, 1.5, but if I go behind the building will block the wind. And same goes for the terrain. So since we know the wind is coming approximately, if not directly from north, if I move behind this hill here, I will be unable to get the accurate wind value, because the hill here will block the wind from me. So keeping that in mind, this position is pretty good. I will get the actual wind value. Of course, the wind will be a bit lower down here, because this hill will block the wind partially. I hope I won't alert the enemies. I shouldn't if I teleport here. So yeah, as you can see, the wind which will affect down here will be only around 0.5 meters per second. So you want to keep that in mind while you're sniping. Now when we are talking about a bit more about the wind, I'll get back to the Kestrel and ATrag. I'll start by setting the atmospheric data, since it's gonna change the least. Hit done. Also double check you have the right gun selected. And also you might want to check the bore height is correct. The error caused by having wrong bore height is pretty minor. For example, for right now it's 7.69. It is, if it was 2.4, okay, 7.8. So it does matter for longer distances. So you really want to make sure the bore height is correct. First, I'll start with this target here. In this case, the wind, first things first, the wind is pretty like low in total. There's barely any wind. And also the wind is coming from around 1 o'clock. So for this one, I think it would be the best. First of all, I'll designate a target. So hold tab and R and release, which will update the direction of fire, inclination angle, and target range. Also set back the meters or metric unit. So for this case, I'll just be using the wind direction 1. I don't really see any reason to use the crosswind only. How much was the wind speed again? Again, the bush here will partially block the wind. About 1.5. But the thing is, it will be less down there. Down here it was only like 0.3. So I'll add it here so I can compare it later on by pressing the lead. So right here, the wind, this value here will be with the wind of 1.5, yes. So the wind here will be for the wind value of 1.5, and this one will be for 0.3, 0.4. And these give me the general idea that the average wind that will affect the bullet will probably be something between them. Of course, I couldn't measure the wind 2 in the real situation. I couldn't teleport there and check it out. But that will give me the general idea that I probably don't need to touch the horizontal hold or wind hold equals the one you, well, this one. I don't have to touch this one at all. I also have the DMR, so I don't really need that. Now the first target is set, because I wanna take them about simultaneously. For the second target, I select B here, and the target data will get updated. Designate the correct guy. Again, let's face the wind. Yeah, it's still the same. This time, the wind direction is 11 or 10, more like 11. Not very accurately 11, but it will be 11. Again, since there's mostly headwind, I'm not gonna use the crosswind. So I'll just do the same I did before. 1.5 here again. Right here the wind would probably be around 0.3 or something like that. And here, I'm gonna demonstrate it. Let's first take down the easier targets, the mortars. Also, the C1 coefficient will change for me because I have the drag coefficient table set here. And that is set because I'm using vanilla ammo. So I've just copied the drag coefficient table from here. But that doesn't matter. Let's take down the first targets. And then we can demonstrate a bit more. I don't really need earplugs though. Now SWT kit is sometimes useful. For example, right now I wouldn't really need it because there isn't that much grass in front of me. But there will be times when there is grass. And also the thing is that now when I have the SWT kit, my rectangle will be horizontal while I'm aiming. that's the right target. We can check that the wind hasn't changed, or it barely has changed. Also in this case it doesn't have to be one shot, one kill, because I have a semi-auto gun and the enemies are unlikely able to actually hit me back. Now these enemies are a bit difficult, or the turrets in general. When using ACE it's a bit difficult to distinguish if they are unconscious or dead, but these ones are just dead. So yeah, again, I didn't adjust the horizontal hold at all. For the second target, since I'm using the same mission file, we can actually see how the wind affects it when we toggle the bullet path tracing. So it barely affects the horizontal hold, I mean vertical hold, at least this one, this horizontal, this vertical. But then, also, you don't have to actually adjust these numbers. You can just aim a bit to the left of the target. So for example here, this would be 0.2 mils, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1.0, 1.2, and so on and so on. So I will demonstrate that also for this shot. So I still have my horizontal hold at 0. I'll aim a bit above center mass because ATrag doesn't give me the exact value. And average between these would be about 0.4, so it would be here. And yeah, let's see what happens. Okay, I missed. It happens. But as you can see, it will still land around here, which is approximately equal to, actually it is close to 0.6. So if I had shot here, I would have probably hit him, but not killed, cause 7.62 isn't really ideal for this range anymore. You can kill targets of course, but it's not as effective. Now I get the same results if I adjust this and aim at the center. I hope that clarified a bit more about the wind, or maybe it aroused more questions. But it's really something you just have to learn by testing, in my opinion. Now when I know that the bullet will land around here with these current settings, I can just aim a bit to the left of targets and pick them out. A bit more. Now that one went unconscious. You could see the animation. Now he's dead when he dropped the gun. And yeah, that's the practical example. Also, SSW ticket isn't the only tool you can use. The entrenching tool does exist, and digging a trench doesn't take too long. It will also give you a bit more of cover. The thing with entrenching tool is though, this might be the grat trenches we are using, that it's well, a bit unreliable as you see. I don't know how the mod works, like, you know, as you can see the altitude of the trench I'm able to dig changes depending on the direction I'm facing and the place I'm at. So in this regard it is a bit unreliable. Also, when I dig the trench, it's not always guaranteed I can actually rest my gun on it. It will sometimes glitch so that I can move through it or stuff like that. But the trench does provide cover against bullets. Let's see if I can rest it here. This time I can. But for example, right here, I'm unable to do it. So I can't rest here if I'm pressing C now, but nothing happens. I can only... Okay, now I can't rest it again. It's a bit difficult to find a spot with trenches. But as I'm going to demonstrate here, by the way, I'm immortal, so this shoulder won't kill me, although he will try. As I'll demonstrate here, the trenches will stop bullets. So the trenches do provide a bit better cover than the SW ticket. Now, one kind of seldom situation when you could be able to use the SSW ticket profitably would be if you are inside a building and you don't want your barrel to stick out of the window, or if you can't rest the barrel here. They are really rare situations since that mostly is a PvP thing or TVT thing. And setting them is also a bit painful sometimes. But for example right now, I'm still able to shoot outside while resting the gun without having my barrel stick out of the window, which would kind of, you know, blow my cover. I mean, you know already what I mean, but practically it is this. Versus something like this. It's still pretty difficult to spot though. But you got my point. But yeah, that's all for today's video. Hope you learned something new. The wind is really interesting. ACE wind, that is. It is pretty in depth. And as you saw before when I was trying to shoot at those targets, I also missed. So yeah, the mistakes happen to everyone. If you didn't know yet. Again, if you have any questions, ask me down below in the comments or visit me on Discord or Steam. I'm more than happy to help.